I wanted to make this video a while ago, maybe like a weekish ago, but I got sick, so I'm only now getting around to it. I'm finally at the point where I can sit at my desk without collapsing, so I'm going to talk about it now. But Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have been out for a little while now, and I actually had beaten the game a few days before they came out. A hack switch, someone leaked the game, so I took a play, and my first playthrough was pretty quick. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was, compared to Sword and Shield, I thought it was pretty good. Like, in terms of a step up. The performance issues are disgusting. There's so many bugs, not just visually with the game, but just performance-wise, that kind of really take away from the experience if you don't know that they're going to be there anyways. Now, I don't want to just excuse the games. Obviously bad performance and bad, visual and technical bugs are horrible, and they do take away from the game, and I'm not going to deny that. I completely agree with it. But at the same time, it's a Pokemon game. I mean, let's be real. Pokemon games have never been the best technically wise. Like, they've always really had some kind of dog shit going on with them. Sword and Shield weren't saints in that regard either. Or, I mean, even look at the original Pokemon games, Red and Blue. But Scarlet and Violet are, I think, a step in the right direction for the Pokemon franchise when it comes to the games. And the more I've had time to kind of sit on the games and how I feel about them, the more satisfied I am with this generation. So I've done 2 playthroughs of the game. I've done one through Scarlet and one through Violet. I haven't completed the Pokedex yet. That's typically what I do every game. Just with being sick, I didn't really have the energy to. So that's going to happen. But aside from the Pokedex stuff, just because I already have an idea of how that's going to go because I've been working on it, my thoughts on the game are pretty hopeful. I think compared to Sword and Shield, which I do think was the lowest Pokemon had ever been, I think Sword and Shield were are the worst games ever that Pokemon has ever released. Worse than Sun and Moon. I hate Sun and Moon. Worse than X and Y. Worse than Let's Go. Worse than Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Those were some pretty bad games too. But I think Sword and Shield was the lowest of the low for Pokemon. When it comes to Pokemon games, I don't think a single game had been better than the previous one since X and Y, since Generation 6. Since X and Y, it's been a downward slope every single game. It's been pretty disappointing. I do believe Sun and Moon are worse than X and Y. I do believe that Sword and Shield are worse than Sun and Moon. I think this is the first time with Scarlet and Violet that we've got a quality increase. Now, Scarlet and Violet is an open world game. It's very, very different from your standard Pokemon game. It's different-ish. The closest game to it is Sword and Shield because they have the wild area, but still, Scarlet and Violet take it a step up, and they go the entire way through with being a open world game or an open world experience. For the better or worse, really, there's a lot of empty space happening that obviously is the big, I think, detracting point from this game's open world. There's an open world, but there's a lot of nothing happening in between, aside from, you can catch your Pokemon. Whoopee. But this game gives you choices, and this game gives you a lot of things to do. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm really happy about, is how many things you have to do in this game. I could not sit through a second playthrough of Sword and Shield because of just how linear, boring, and not really much there was to do. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in this game. What I appreciate most is the 3 story paths that you can take. So that you have to take. You have to do all of them. There's this Team Star, there's the Titans, and there's the gyms, which The gyms are, well, they're gyms. They're, you know them, you love them. They're tried and true to the Pokemon franchise. There's the Titans, which are like the totem Pokemon from Sun and Moon, which I actually didn't think was a bad system. I enjoyed the Titans actually quite a bit. I thought that they were fun to do. The only one that I didn't really like that much, which this game tried to do new, was the Team Star stuff. I thought it was pretty boring. It didn't really have much, unique elements to it to make it more fun. You battle cars, which was okay, I guess. But aside from that, I thought the previous two paths, the Titans and the gyms, were fun. They were really fun. What I enjoyed most was that using all three of these paths, there was actually one of each type for each of these. What do I mean by that? I mean, there was, let's say there's 18 types, right? Your grass, fire, whatever, and there was 18 challenge points. So there was 8 gyms, there was the 5 Titans, and there was however many stars. I believe 5 stars. Yes, five Team Star bosses. So there was literally a type for everything. That made what starter you picked a little bit less important. Not really, because fire was still broken and it destroys the region completely. But it did mean that your starter was going to be good against something. Now, the issue is scaling doesn't exist. The lack of scaling was, I think, the biggest disappointment I had at this game. There is no true choice. You do have a preferred order that the game tries to give you, and if you don't follow that order, you better hope that you know what levels you need to be for whoever you're trying to challenge, because they don't scale. So there is a proper first gym, there's a proper second gym, there's a proper first Titan that'll make it easier for you because it's the lowest level. There isn't, I'm going to go challenge this gym, it's going to be at my level, and then I'm going to go challenge the next gym, the Pokemon are going to also be at my level there. That doesn't exist. So unfortunately, there is no real choice. But you can make the game one of the more harder Pokemon games for yourself if you want to, because of that. And that's exactly what I did, and I enjoyed the game more because of that. So I challenged second gym first, then went back into the first. Then I challenged the fourth, then I went back into the third, and then I challenged the sixth, and that was what I found to be the most enjoyable way to do it, with a fun sense of difficulty, because I was always under the level, and it was always more of a challenge. But I only really got 4 gyms that were a challenge, like really anything. Anytime I went back, it was really easy, and I stomped the gym. Same kind of way for Titan. Actually, no, I would do the same for Titans if that's what matters to you. But for me, Titans were a way of upgrading my movement, and so I didn't really care. I just did them. Titans were, I think, better on my first playthrough because I didn't really know what was going on as much. But preparing for them, or just kind of knowing what was happening, I was able to, second time, just breeze through them. I do want to say I never lost a battle. Not that I didn't have any difficulty with some of them. I absolutely did. But I did not end up ever losing a battle. I did, however, have the most fun this game that I'd ever had playing a Pokemon game in the last 5 years. And by playing a Pokemon game, I mean playing a new one, like not an older title. Now, there's actually quite a few things that I think that this game does pretty well, and I think one of them is Pokemon availability. I like that I can make my team before the game starts. I can pick it out and I can just go catch them. Now, not all of it was usable, but I could 100% have it in my team. Like, for example, I did use the pseudo legendary of this region in my team, barely. He wasn't really ended up being that useful, but I used it, and I actually went and caught it before doing my first gym. You can do that. You can literally pick a team out before you want, or before the game, and go get them. If something's limited by a jump or whatever, you can actually get around it by doing backwards jumping. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you can backwards jump to get up places where you're not supposed to be, so it doesn't really lock you out of anything. I really enjoyed that flexibility, or even just that ability to do that right off the bat, build my team up, and then go from there. I also really do like the open world direction of the game. I think that this is something that is both really good and not great. I think that because they went for a larger world, there's a lot of empty space. What I really do wish was that they condensed it down a little bit and made it so that it was not quite as big, but you had more to do on the map instead of just running around not really doing anything, looking at blank spaces, kind of like you did in Legends Arceus. But the biggest thing that I have to say about this game that I didn't realize until a few days ago was it's replayable. I say that I'm gonna say this next part as someone that I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I have around 600 hours in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Around 550 of those are in Pokemon Sword. Around another 50 are in Pokemon Shield. I played those games a lot. I have, I think, a lot of authority to say this, or I feel like I have the experience to say this. Those games are boring as fuck, and I can't replay them. I tried. Just playing through my Shield file was hell on earth. I was so bored out of my mind. It was ridiculous. I couldn't replay Sword. I tried to do a randomized Nuzlocke on my stream. I couldn't do it. I got so bored out of my mind having to replay Pokemon Sword. I just stopped. Which sucks because that run was so much fun, but everything aside from having to play that Pokemon game was fun about it. Same with Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and Sun and Moon. I don't want to replay those games. I can't stand replaying those games. But with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, when I replayed, or when I played through Violet for the first time, because I played Scarlet the first time and then I played Violet, I didn't even mind. I had no issue because this time I took a different path to the gyms. This time I took a different path with the Titans. I took a different path with the Star bosses. I took a different team. I went to different areas. Immediately, I had way more fun the second time actually instead of the first, which I think is so refreshing for a Pokemon game. I don't know the last time I've had something like that happen to me. Actually, I do. It was with Gen 5, but it's been so long that I'd forgotten that a Pokemon game could be fun to replay. You know, I replay old games all the time. I replay Diamond, I replay Platinum, I replay Heart Gold, I replay Black 2, White 2, I replay Black and White. Like, I love replaying those games. Those games are fun for me. No matter how many times I get through them. And I honestly think that Scarlet and Violet have that replayability value that down the line will make people come back to them. Sword and Shield, I can't see that happening. Sun and Moon a little bit more than Sword and Shield, but Sword and Shield are games I legitimately think are one and done and are worth $20. That's it. Scarlet and Violet, maybe not worth the full Switch price tag, but they are, I think, equivalent worth of something like Black and White, for example, like $40. It's a little ridiculous that we pay, 60 USD, 80 Canadian for it, but whatever. I think the games are a fantastic step in the right direction. They're not amazing. They're not. They're really not. There's a lot of stuff that they're lacking. I think the world is the biggest one. I think the music is whatever. I don't think it's that great. I think, the characters are pretty boring, but the story is also really not anything great until you get to the end. The end is actually really good, but by Pokemon standards. But there's the visuals obviously need work. The bugs are ridiculous. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked on in this game. The fucking Pokemon are so fucking small. There seems to be a really big focus on small. in this region, and I hate it. I really don't like it. There's Pokemon that are just too small to see when you're riding around, and you'll run into them anyways. It's just, God, incredibly frustrating, but whatever. Whatever. Aside from that, really, there's not too much that I have to say about the game that's bad, which is a very stark contrast from when I first recorded this video before I got sick, because I had a lot to say at the time that I didn't like. But this game, it's really grown on me as a fan of Pokemon, right? I've been playing Pokemon games since Gen 4. Gen 4 was when Diamond and Pearl came out. That was my first Pokemon game. I was tiny, and I've been playing every single generation since. I've been playing every single game since that. The only games that I missed were Black 2, White 2, which I then replayed when I was older. And I didn't play Let's Go as soon as it came out. But aside from that, I've played everything pretty much the month it released. So it's got a special place in my heart, as like I know it does for so many people. In fact, this channel's primary growth came from Pokemon. I did a lot of Sword and Shield stuff, and I posted it here. I'm sure some of you will remember that. But really, like, there's a lot of hope in me that the Pokemon games will finally start being at least decent, at least, you know, good. They'll be good. I think this game is at its, I'll give it a rating. These ratings are, for me, 5 is average, 10 is perfect, 1 is, or, you know, I'll go down to 0. 0 is, you know, it's trash. It's as bad as it gets. It's not worth your time. It's not worth anything. It's not even worth thinking about. I think this game is honestly a 6. When it comes to Pokemon, when you consider it as a game on the same like rating, it's a 5. It really is just an average game. But when it comes to Pokemon, it's a 6. It's got a little bit, no, you know, I'm gonna take it back. It's a 6.5. So I mean, that's really, wow, that's something for me. Considering I think Sword and Shield are a 2, and I think Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because those games are barely any different, are like a 3. So I think this is a big step for the right direction, and I hope it continues going this way. I'm hoping there's DLC, because there's some interesting stuff that I think that they can do with the game. I would much rather a DLC than a Pokemon, I don't know, fucking Orange or some shit. I would much rather a DLC. So that's going to be exciting. I'm going to be looking out for that. I'm sure that they will do that, because the new 4 legendary Pokemons don't fit in at all with the region. So I'm sure that something will happen there. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the new Pokemon games. If you disagree with me, let me know why. If you agree with me, let me know why. I'm always interested to read opinions, so just let me know below. Sub or and join the Discord. Link will be in the description for that. Peace.